guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of The Designated Designer, a podcast about design where curiosity is the compass, creativity lights the way, and transformation is just part of the trip. I'm your host, Jennifer Stank, your brand spirit guide for this wild, wonderful ride where we navigate our creative existence together in today's modern and conventional world. Today, I have a very special guest for you guys, Vickie Moore from Design Some More. I actually met her, so here it is, drum roll. For the last 8 episodes of the podcast, I've been talking about these co-working calls. Here is the host of the co-working calls. So a very nice segue for that. I am always talking about these co-working calls that you host, Vickie, because they're so educational, they're so informational, and they're so great for just anybody to join. It's not behind a paid subscription wall. Anybody can join. Just subscribe to her newsletter. She will send you the link for these co-working calls that I literally always talk about. You guys are probably sick of hearing about them already, but they're great. They changed my life. They changed the trajectory of my business. The amount of support and the friends in these co-working calls, like just from being able to ask somebody like, can you look at this? Can you give me advice? Can you let me know if there's anything that you would change? Or just asking about like a business decision. Should I get a business coach? Should I not? Like having a space to kind of ask those kind of questions and interact with other like-minded people is so valuable and literally changed my life. So seriously, guys, if you're not already subscribed to her newsletter, please go do so. But without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce you guys to Vickie. She's super awesome and super fun and super talented, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. So Vickie, do you want to tell us just a little bit about what you do, who you kind of help, and, you know, your business?
Of course. So I'm Vickie. I run Design Some More, which is a pun on my surname. Moore is spelt with 2 O's, and obviously I just had to sneak a bit of fun into my business name. I've been doing freelance graphic design and specializing in like branding for about 2 years, 2.5 years now, I'd say. But I did start my journey off at university, and I had 2 in-house jobs prior to that. But I'm kind of just on this journey at the moment. There's no set destination in terms of where I want to take my business. I'm just kind of finding clients here and there and trying to vary my work as much as possible so that I end up having fun whilst I'm sat at my desk. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's a bit boring, really, but
No, that's awesome though. And I'm really excited to kind of ask you a little bit about your overall design journey, kind of from start to finish. Like, what did it look like when you first started dabbling with design? Like, was it painting or drawing that kind of got you into it? Was it scrapbooking? Like, what was kind of your introduction to the creative world?
sure. I was always a creative kid. My dad was a part-time photographer, still is, and my grandma was a primary school teacher. So myself and my sister were like her guinea pigs for testing out like all the arts and crafts that she'd run with her like students at the time. So like we always would like doing stuff, whether it was baking, making cards, going out with my dad, helping him photograph stuff. Like we were always doing something creative as kids, and that kind of just naturally led into then my choices at school. And design and art seemed like a no-brainer. It's just what I always known, what I enjoyed doing. So kind of naturally was a progression for me. It didn't seem right to do anything but that. So it's kind of how I fell into it and how I ended up going to uni and studying design. I did 3 years in Coventry, which is, for those that don't live in the UK, probably the worst place in the UK to go. It's like right in the slap bang middle of the like the Midlands area, and it's just grey and miserable. There's never sunshine. Like it's
Oh,
horrible.
wow.
Is not a great place, but I had a lot of fun at uni, met some lovely people, worked out what I liked within design, because obviously we had lots of different projects that varied different like outputs and stuff. So I kind of found my I hate the word niche, but found what I enjoyed crafting. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of it. Was that a good enough answer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really cool too, because I like that our journeys kind of sound similar, where everybody's journey into design is different. Some people know that's exactly what they want to do. Some people have no idea that that's what they want to do. Some
Yeah.
people like it, but then they accidentally stumble into it. And I feel like for me, it was very much the same because I was actually a painter. So I was very hands-on as a kid. I worked puzzles. I was in the garden with my dad all the time. I was always doing something with my hands. I was crafting. I was working puzzles. I was painting. drawing, coloring books. Like I always loved that kind of stuff. I was always doing something like you said. And as it got into college, or actually high school, they had an art program. And I took the art program just because it was a passion. And I ended up getting like really good at it to the point where when it came time for college and they were asking everybody about like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? You're asking a 17-year-old what they want to do with their future. Like that's a loaded question. Nobody knows at 17 what they want to do with their future, really. So I had no idea. I'm like, listen, I have no idea what I want to do. I know that I like art and I know that I'm good at it. So I guess I'll just try to find something with that. And I remember my guidance counselor was like, you're going to be a starving artist in New York City. And I'm like, well, that's a good thing to tell a 17-year-old. But then they were like, you can't just do painting. You have to do something that you can actually make like a wage with. And they suggested graphic design. And actually, I had no idea what graphic design even was. I had no idea it existed. I didn't even know it was a thing. The biggest graphic design thing I ever had as a child, over here in the US, we had this toy. It was called a DigiDraw. And it was this little folder that had these like coloring pages. It opened up like a book, and it had these like panes inside of it. It was so bizarre, but you would put these pages in like a certain area of the thing and you'll see it reflect on the other panel. So you could seat like an 8.5 by 11 in it and trace. It was like a little carryable like tracing station. It was so bizarre, but I remember that was, I think, as far back as my first experience with graphic design went, because the images that they put like in the sample sheet that they give you with the toy, they're all these graphic designed images where they have like the stroke and the color and everything. They're very like vectorized images. So that was the first time I ever even like was introduced to what graphic design is. And it wasn't even really directly. It was just kind of like a toy. And then I ended up getting into high school and doing all that painting and stuff. And then they said graphic design. It's like, I don't know what that is. But then when they start talking to me about it, I had a small recollection from childhood of the DigiDraw and those images that I remembered seeing. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I ended up going to university and I had no idea what I was doing. Like I literally didn't even know how to use a computer. And they were trying to teach me graphic design with no knowledge of how to even turn a laptop on. So most of my university, I actually spent learning how to use a computer, not even like on the design skill part itself. I definitely had training in it, obviously, but not as much as the other kids, because when you understand how to use a computer, when the teacher's teaching you something, you can immediately apply it. But when you don't know how to use a computer and they're teaching you how to do something, you're trying to understand how to even do the thing they're trying to teach you. So it's just like a whole different ball game. But it's cool to kind of hear some of the similarities about like just kind of being into it when we were younger and then like finding it. Because for me, it wasn't, I didn't go after it. It kind of came after me, was the way that everything ended up falling into place. And I'm super thankful for it because it's a cool community. I feel like getting to meet people like you and Brands by Robin and Gareth and all of the people in the co-working call, shouting it out again. But it's so fun. And the creative problem solving, I think that's the thing I'm most curious about you, because you really do take this like approach with your design where you kind of creatively problem solve. And I didn't understand that conceptually until just last year. All through university, you know, they teach you how to kind of think creatively and think outside the box and push the boundaries, but they really don't teach this creative problem solving, because that does not come until much later when you're way more educated, when you've been in the industry for a long time. You kind of do need this deeper sense of understanding of the industry as a whole to understand that creative problem solving. So do you kind of want to tell us a little bit about how you found that niche? And again, I hate using the word niche, but
Snaps. It's a hard one really, because it's not something that you learn. You kind of evolve to, like, you can't be taught it. You kind of just grow into this perspective. But essentially, like, design isn't anything until it's got meaning. So by creating a poster or a brand, if you're just doing it because it's visually aesthetic and it looks nice, there's no point to the thing you're making. Like, everything has to communicate something somehow and have a deeper meaning. So I mean, when it comes to like branding, obviously like we do a lot of strategy heavy stuff, so it's easy to kind of work your head around why you do certain things in design. It's not just I popped that there because I liked it, or I chose red because it's a nice color. Like, everything has a little bit of a strategic background to it, and you're making all of these decisions because they suit a purpose. Like it's either to help connect with your target audience, it's to push sales. Like there's always something deeper within the design that like the standard public won't ever recognize, but the designer will have been tasked to create something for a certain mission or to hit a certain goal. Like the brief will never just be make something pretty, it will always be create a design for XYZ. So it is kind of something you just learn on the go, to be honest, and I don't think you can just be taught instantly how to problem solve. It's just all about getting used to figuring out what design styles work for which problems and so forth. So it's a difficult one because you can't really just do it instantly. It's all about learning and evolving and going into like the more strategic research side of design. So it's a hard one, but it's definitely something you learn and you pick up along the way. And as soon as you start applying it, you'll start to see your designs like actually performing better because people will be able to communicate with them on a better level. So
that was beautifully said, because I think there's a lot of talk in our industry about they kind of try to convince us that this can be something that can be sold. You know, a lot of the stuff that I see in the industry is like, take my course, buy my resources, learn to be a strategic designer. It's really tough because I think you're so right. I think you're so right in saying that it is something that you evolve into, you grow into. It comes with practice. No one would ever expect to just get in a plane and be like, I'm going to fly this thing. You don't know what any of the buttons mean. You don't know what any of the things do. Yeah. So to kind of say, here's the plane, buy the plane, and then just fly it is so loaded to me. So I really do think that it is something that you grow into. And to the young designers out there, to the designers that are just starting and you don't have a lot of money to work with, please don't feel pressured into buying these courses straight away. Get comfortable with yourself. Learn your own routine. Before you run online and you start subscribing to all of these subscriptions and you start buying all of these courses and you start expending all this money on these resources, just get to know yourself first. Get to know how you are, get to know how you work, get to know how you interact with clients, and build from there. When you start to understand your weaknesses and your strengths, and you see where you need to improve, you can better tailor your educational efforts towards those areas. If you run into it blindly and you run to the first course that's like, learn to be a strategic designer and start making $10,000 a month, it's going to fail you and you're going to regret it.
It's always 10,000, like the little number that they like to pop on the courses, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it literally always is. Can somebody put 15? Can somebody put 5? Can somebody put 12? It's always 10. It's always 10,000.
But I completely agree with you there. And I think the way to think about it is, although they're really good at marketing and that's how they get you, you have to realize that the person running this course is literally making their income off you, and they're exploiting your lack of knowledge as a designer to be able to pay off their own bills. They're not doing any design themselves. They're literally just running this course. Their job is not a graphic designer. Their job is course leader, marketing manager, whatever you want to call themselves. They're not designing. They're selling you education in advertising.
I know, and it stinks too, because I fell into the trap too. You know, I can't say I'm not guilty. When I started my business, you know, you see all this stuff online, you immediately think I have to be doing this. Yeah. If everybody else is doing it, I have to be doing it. It's like the textbook definition of peer pressure. Yeah. And I immediately fell into that trap, and I was like, I have to have these things. And it was so disappointing because I ended up saving up for the most expensive courses on the market, like some of the most prestigious courses that are out there. And I ended up enrolling in them. And it was literally everything that I was already doing. Yeah. It was everything I was already doing. And that gutted me when I popped open that course zip folder and I start digging through it. And the Notion template that was in there was less impressive than what I'm running right now in Notion. And I'm not saying that to be like egotistical or anything. It was just really disheartening to not have a lot of funds and to save up money. And it took me a really long time to save this money up. And then I spend it on this course thinking I'm doing the right thing. And it was nothing. I gained nothing from it. It would have been better if I spent that on like Facebook ads or a networking event
Yeah.
or something like Google ads, like literally anything else, that money would have been better spent. And I just want to bring awareness to that because I feel like that is so prevalent now. And a lot of young designers, there's not a lot of resources out there to help them and be like, hey, this isn't the only answer. You can take time, watch a couple free YouTube videos, watch a couple design tutorials, watch a couple system stuff, go outside of the industry. It doesn't just have to be design. Go onto an accountant YouTube channel and learn how to do your books. Go on to like a systems or an operation business page where they talk about like Notion or systems or things like that and learn about it. Because that I did in the beginning when I didn't have money, and that paid off more for me than any course ever has. The only courses I will say, and I'm not paid to say this, the only courses I will say that have helped me is Made by James. Truly, the amount of resources and value that I got from his courses changed the trajectory of my business. I was not doing quarterly goals until I start like watching his courses. I was not doing any of the stuff like just I like that he talks about how to manage yourself. I think if you can look for resources where they try to teach you how to manage yourself, it is so much more beneficial than trying to implement a system into your business that's going to magically make you $10,000. The more self work that you can do, I feel like the better.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I was guilty as well. I did invest in a course that I really didn't need to. And a couple thousand quid later, I came out of it. Yes, I had made a couple friends along the way, but no, I hadn't learned anything that I didn't already know. So there you
Yeah,
go.
it's tough. I got one of them courses make $10,000 a month and it has not happened. And it's not from lack of trying. I work really hard. The thing is, everyone's business is unique to them. You know, everybody's business, you're doing your own thing. You're in it for your own reasons. Everybody's running their business for their own personal reason. Like some
Yeah.
people are in it for money. Some people are in it to change lives. Some people are in it for fame. Some people are in it for whatever. Like there's so many different reasons. There's some people are in it so they can make enough money to take care of the people they love and care about. There's so many reasons and so many different motivating factors for people starting their business that not every course saying, you know, make $10,000 is going to suit you, because maybe making a ton of money isn't the reason that you're in business. It's not the reason I'm in business, because if money was the reason, I would have never started a business.
I was gonna say it's definitely not the easiest thing to just magic 10 grand out of nowhere.
No, it is not. It's the toughest thing to magic 10 grand in just a quarter, let
Yeah.
alone 1 month. Like,
Yeah, it's all lies.
yeah, for sure. So, how was your university experience then? Like, what were some of the favorite projects that you did? Was there any kind of classes that kind of were pushing you outside of your comfort zone? Like, I had to take a photography class, and it was the best and worst thing.
Yeah, I think uni's are a bit different over here because we just did what we signed up for. Like there wasn't like you go off and
Oh,
do
really?
projects. Yeah, so I did graphic design and communication, which probably was why having that strategic background started. Like everything was about a message within the design. It was never just something pretty.
Right.
But yeah, the 3 years, we had different modules that were based on like there was a typography module, there was a moving image module. I'm trying to think now. This it feels like ages ago.
Doesn't it? I think back to college, and it's like 10 years ago. I'm like, oh,
Oh, I'm old. But
I feel the same way.
the whole time that I was there, I think we did like book covers, posters, ad campaigns. There
Yep.
was nothing really like real. It was all made up briefs that the lecturers had just plucked out of thin air. And there was nothing that really taught us about the industry. It was kind of just about making these designs and doing our dissertation at the end, which was like the most stressful thing about the whole course because like 80% of graphic designers are dyslexic. It's like try and make them write a 10,000 word essay on something. It's like
Yep.
pure torture. But yeah, I basically came out of it having learnt the software, which was great, but I didn't really have any expectations or knowledge on what industry was going to be like. So I'd say is definitely looking back on it something that I could have done from home, having access to stuff like Skillshare and YouTube. Like there's
Right.
all all of that information is out on the internet now these days. So it's not something that I needed to sign my life away to. And I mean, my student loan is still ticking, so I'm stuck in that little pot forever now. But yeah, it was a good experience. I definitely enjoyed it, probably more so for the meeting people and the drinking aspects than the actual course itself, which isn't great, but good time nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and those moments in college, I'm glad I had them because it was the same, like getting to go out, meet people. And to me, I didn't drink through my entire university experience because I was so hyper focused on homework. But after I graduated, I got my first industry job close to my university. And at the time, I had an apartment there. So I just stayed at the apartment and I was working this job close to uni. So that was my drinking and partying phase because I didn't have like grades to worry about. So I was going out, I was drinking, I was partying, I was hanging out with these people that would like fix up cars and stuff. It was literally the best summer of my life. Nice. And those memories, like looking back on it, because we were so young, you know, like we didn't really have futures to worry about. I'm glad I took the time and kind of just had that little tiny part of my life where I just threw caution to the wind because those memories are good ones. But then I did get really serious. Like after that kind of phased out and I ended up getting my first real job, I got more serious about, you know, financially being responsible, planning for a future. And then it quickly evolved into looking to start the business. And I had to get really serious to carry that through. But what was your first like industry job like?
Yeah, so I got a job, I think it was like 3 or 4 months after finishing uni. So it was pretty quick for like my year. I was quite lucky to be one of the first to land a solid job. Even got it before we had like officially graduated, so that was nice. I was able to go to graduation wearing my cap and gown and be like, yeah, I've already got a job.
That's
like,
so cool.
I hadn't landed anything yet. But it was a small startup retail company. They'd been on Dragon's Den, which is like the UK equivalent of Shark Tank. And it was literally just me and the head designer. That was the whole design team. It was just the two of us at the time. And it basically consisted of ads, social stuff, website, touch-ups here and there. They didn't really do any printed collateral. I did all the packaging myself, sometimes even did some designs for the actual products, which was cool. But it was super varied. I did a lot of stuff and I learned a lot on the job because I was kind of just thrown into the deep end. Like you never learn packaging or how to set up a Illustrator artboard for print when you're at uni. You kind of just always doing digital stuff. So learning on the job, a lot of fun. We had monthly socials, so I carried on my drinking phase well into my first job, which was probably...
So did I. So did I.
And yeah, I was with them for 2.5 years. It was a good stint. I enjoyed that job a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I was very much similar. My first job out of college, it's honestly crazy because I feel like we're telling the same story. But my first job out of college, it was very similar. I was actually social media manager. So I got introduced to Hootsuite for the first time in my life. I was using Hootsuite there. And then we were a signage manufacturing facility. So what we did is we had office people, we had project managers and account executives that were in literal cubicles that would just do like invoicing and payments and scheduling all day long. Don't know how you have a happy life doing that. God love those people, have so much respect for those people. So there was this one area where it was literally just a bunch of cubicles, and that's kind of where project management, invoicing, and account execs would live. There was a little tiny room we had all to ourselves that was the design room. And there were literally 3 of us, 3 designers. We had a whole room to ourselves. It was so nice. And then right outside, there was a door by the design room. It led right into the warehouse. So we actually had a warehouse facility attached to the building. So there was warehousing right outside, like the door was right next to my desk. And it was crazy because in the wintertime, the warehouse would get so cold. So there was just constantly this freezing draft blowing on me all winter long. Amazing. And then you could walk around through the warehouse and like the break room was on the other side. And then there were main offices for like the actual important people. They had like their own office. That was the other wing. So when I was there, I was doing the social media, and because I was social media, I would walk out onto the warehouse floor, and it was the coolest thing. I would get to walk the warehouse floor and go hang out with like the warehouse people, and they would be in the middle of like manufacturing these signs, like doing channel lettering and massive Hard Rock Cafe signs and hospital signage, like huge, like it was tall, 10 times taller than me. And they're putting together these signs out there. They have a big spray paint booth. So I would just get to take pictures and post to the social and everything like that. I did like the print, small business cards, brochures, things like that, but nothing really anything big. I learned to design and scale though, because you never learn how to do packaging, you never learn how to design and scale in university, but in the real world you do. And when you're working in signage, it's all real life measurements because these things have to be manufactured to spec. So I was like in a totally new world. I was so thrown into the deep end. I was still partying. I'd come to work hungover. It was awful and it was bad, and I cleaned up my life, but that was a part of my life. And it was like I was trying to do math hungover.
Yeah.
It was awful. But then after that, I kind of found my first legit graphic design job, which was the vehicle wraps. And that's where I stayed ever since. You already know that. But after that, kind of where did you end up landing?
Yeah, so I decided to hand my notice in after 2.5 years. The dynamics with the company had changed a little bit, and it wasn't for me anymore. So I had my fair share of CVs written out, ready to send, but I actually landed a agency job, which I thought was completely different because obviously going from retail to agency, you're completely swapping which sides of the industry. So I went into a marketing agency and their main clients were Google and YouTube. So what sounds really cool on the get-go and why I accepted the job role is because you get to work for all of these massive brands that everybody's heard of, and it's like, oh yeah, that's really cool, I'll do that. But actually it was pure template, like there was no creativity within any of the jobs. I think I spent probably 80% of my time in that job role just doing Google slides. Like there was
Oh my
nothing
gosh.
fun about that job. Like you can slap Google all over my portfolio and my CV, but actually at the end of the day, I learnt nothing, and I spent all of my time in a presentation software, which is not at all what I wanted to do. So that one didn't last as long. I was there for a year and a half, I want to say, and then they actually made me redundant, which was a bit of a shock to the system. It was a month after I had got the keys to my first house to be told after you've got your first mortgage invoice through the letterbox that you're actually no longer in employment. It's a bit scary, but hey ho, we powered through, and that's kind of how the business started, because whilst I was applying for the jobs, I was like doing my own stuff on the side, and it just got to a point where actually I was like, I might just give this a proper go because I seem to be getting the work in. So that's kind of where Designs and Moral started.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And what year about would you say that you started your business?
So it's a weird one because during COVID was like the rise of passion projects on Instagram. I don't know if you remember them, but like there was so many like different Instagram pages that would create these made up brand briefs and they'd send them into the world, and everybody would hop on because like we all had nothing to do, right? So there was like thousands of designers that would enter these competitions. You don't get anything for it apart from just being shared on a story. So it's like the true definition of exposure work back then. Kind of started doing that stuff during COVID, and it just kind of grew along the side whilst I had my full-time job. And it got to a point where actually my follower count was growing quite a bit and people were starting to recognise me. So I was getting a couple clients along the side of my full-time job, which we do not tell the boss about. But I just spent like pretty much every evening outside of my 9 to 5, like building my little side hustle up. And at the point, at the start, it was kind of just like selling posters on Etsy and doing like really low-key logos here and there for tiny startup businesses, like nothing big. But eventually it's like scaled to this lovely at-home office with like a regular income and regular freelance clients that I've got on retainers. So yeah, it kind of, I would say like officially I went freelance January of 2023, but I reckon like the actual start date of the business would probably be somewhere like 2021, like the end of the COVID era. Maybe
Right.
more COVID. So maybe like mid 2020 to 21, I'd say.
Wow, that is so literally still same.
Yeah,
That's
I'm quite
crazy
happy.
because I graduated college like 2019.
Mhm.
And then straight away, I was freelancing. Like that summer, I took off and just partied the whole summer. And then when it came time for fall and I was like doing the regular, like working and all that kind of stuff, I settled down a little bit. And that's when I started to do in 2019. I worked at that sign company. I would work 9 to 5. And then from 5 to 9, there was a little computer shop in Kutztown and they needed design. And I would go work for them from 5 to 9. So I would work my 9 to 5, drive back to Kutztown, work 5 to 9, and then go home. That was my normal that entire fall. And that's kind of where I was like building up, trying to figure out, what do I want to do with the business? Where do I want to go? And at that point, it was so small. Like I was invoicing $20 invoices, like nothing crazy. It was
Yeah.
so small. And then one client leads to two, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. And so before you know it, you have a pretty successful business. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important to talk about the first 5 years are really not real. Like
Yeah.
they're necessary, but they're not really like you're not in business yet because there is no way that you are just going to walk into this unless you get extremely lucky or it is handed to you that you're going to step into it and have a smooth, well-oiled business that's running smoothly. When you first start, it's like you don't have anybody. Nobody knows who you are. You're not working for anybody. You have no following and your skills are still in their infancy phase. It takes real experience to be able to hone your skills. And like you said, you grow into it. You understand that strategy. You start to understand what works and what doesn't just from trial and error. So it was just kind of like that process the whole way through.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like it's so common to think like as a freelance designer, all you do is design. But actually, the 50% of the stuff that people don't see is as behind the scenes doing all the business side of stuff. So like going into a freelance role is 100% not what you think it's going to be. Like nobody knows anything about business when you walk into it, but you kind of have to evolve and learn that as you go because otherwise you can't run a business without knowing how to run a business. So you kind of learn all of these additional skills along the way, which is so nice. But yeah, they're like the unsung parts of the freelance role, I reckon, because just nobody knows about them until you like get into it and you realize a month or 2 months down the line that you're like, oh God, I need to work out taxes. I need to work out how to pay myself. I need to work out pension, all of this kind of stuff that your employer would normally do for you, all your expenses, like signing up for subscriptions and software, working out how much all of that stuff costs so you can work out like an hourly rate or a day rate that you need to be hitting to be able to make some money. It's like all of these sides of the job that is not really spoken about, which is what I'm trying to do with the co-work and just making sure that we can all get together and teach each other so that all of these newbies that come into the world of freelance design don't just see us on Instagram showing off how much money we've made. I mean, not that I do that anyway, but like when you see the 10K month thing, you just expect that that's what everyone earns, but you don't see the behind the scenes of that. So it's really important to be clear and honest and teach the younger generation of designers what it actually is like to be a freelancer, because otherwise they'll get to a point in life where there are no freelancers because nobody knows how to do it. So
I think it's really cool to see designers kind of stepping up to the role and starting to educate the younger designers the way that it actually is. Like when Robin told me about your co-working call and I joined that first time, I felt so at home. I felt so safe. I felt so comfortable because when you are on social media, it's so much of this pressure. It's so much of comparison. And you're not only comparing yourself to other people, you're also comparing yourself to their day 1000 versus your day 1. Yeah. And that is a really scary trap to fall in because my sister actually pointed that out to me when I was starting my business and I was like in my head and I was like giving myself a hard time. I'm like, I'm going to fail and am I going to fail and I'm not going to get any clients, like all that stuff that all of us have told ourselves at some point. I was going through that with my sister and she was like, Jen, you have to remember, you can't keep comparing your day 1 to somebody else's day 1000. And that literally stuck with me since that day because it's so true. And that started to really open up my mind to looking back on my entire journey since I started this. And this truly was years in the process. Like since 2020, I would really say years in the process. And when you first start freelancing, you don't have to worry about the admin. You're just, when you finish it, you send them an invoice on PayPal and that's it. You know, like it's so easy in the beginning. But then towards when you have to get more serious about it, you do have to start doing all this stuff, getting yourself on payroll, making sure that your taxes are paid, making sure that your state taxes are paid, making sure that all of the documents are set, you know, renewing any licenses and doing all of your subscriptions. Like, so much stuff. Starting a newsletter, starting a podcast, making sure that you're putting out content regularly, like all of this stuff really stacks up. So knowing that you're not just going to walk into it and be amazing straight away is very, very important. And also knowing that comparing your day one to somebody else's day 100 or day 1000 or day whatever is also not productive. And just remember, it's a journey, not a sprint, just like Gareth said in the last episode. It is a journey, it's not a sprint. And I really love that there's people out there stepping up to plate like you and raising awareness and doing your part in the design community to make the design community like better in the future moving forward, because I think that that's just going to be so great to see. For me, seeing the design community come together the way that it has in the last like year or two has been so special. I think that there's a lot of like unity in the design community. I think that we're all kind of fighting towards the same mission. We want to make the world a better place for the younger designers, the up and coming designers. And it's so cool to be a part of it. It's like when you feel like you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself, I feel like you just feel so good about it.
Agreed. The rise of AI and the amount of non-designers that just think like design is no longer like a viable way to spend your business's hard-earned cash. Like that in itself has brought us together as a group of creatives, because we're all fighting the same battle. We're all supporting one another. So if someone sees on Twitter or Threads that someone said something about, oh, ChatGPT could have done this better, or I don't know, Firefly could have done this as well, and then you see like the amount of designers like comment back and they're all just like hounding at each other. It's like we all swarm to support one another. It's quite nice actually. But I mean, that's come out of some tough conversations, but it's a nice place to be at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it was Gareth that said that, right? In the one co-working call, somebody made a comment or something on one of his things about like AI, blah, blah, blah. And he had like an army of designers jump in the comments and defend him. I think that that was just so, so nice and so heartwarming, because it really is. I think you're right. Like that did make some waves in the design community. And I think all of us collectively were like, nope, we're sticking together. This is not going to tear us apart. This is not going to divide us. And to see that community come together, like I wish the rest of the world was capable of doing that.
It would make life a bit easier if they could see that.
Yeah, for sure. So when you got into your design business then and you started to do your own thing and started to get regular with it, what did that look like? You know, that kind of change of life, moving on to kind of leaning on yourself for income and things like that. What was that whole process like?
It was tough, to be honest, but I don't think you'd ever be able to ask that question to any freelancer and then say it was easy, because obviously you're going from everything business side being done for you by your employer to then having to do it all yourself when you have no idea what you're doing. So it is like, it's tough finding your feet, working out how to run a business, how to find clients from the get-go, because you don't just walk into freelance with clients, you have to find them yourself. So the constant outreach to like is kind of on the same level as sending out CVs, right? You send out 100, probably only hear back from 5. So it's like the same thing for like reaching out for work, because nobody wants a cold email. But it was difficult, but I must admit I really enjoyed that learning process. I love being my own boss. I love being able to work out when I want to work rather than when the system's telling me I need to be sat at my desk. I go to the gym every morning, 7 till 9, do 2 classes, come back and then start my day at 10:30. Like I bloody love it. It's the best thing in the world. I love being my own boss. I am able to go into my garden halfway through the day and do a bit of planting, whatever. I'm able to bake. Like there's so many benefits to the freelance side of stuff that I would never go back to employment now. But it's definitely been a journey and it's not an easy one. So if you're just doing it for a quick fix and to make that 10K, I'd probably say take a step back and rethink your whole career aspirations, all that kind of stuff, because it's not a walk in the park. It's again a long journey. It's not a sprint. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but it's well worth it if you want to be your own boss, make your own money. That's a really nice feeling. You're not dependent on someone else. You get to do it all yourself, and just be able to set your own rules around your workday. It's lovely.
The amount of responsibility I think that comes with being a freelancer is very, very great. And the benefits and the rewards of being able to be free and make your own schedule and do all of these things are an amazing gift, but it comes at the cost of a great responsibility. You know, just like the saying, what is it? Great power comes with great responsibility. And it very much is true when it comes to running a business. So if you're just in it for a quick fix, you're just in it for fame, you're just in it to get your name on a leaderboard somewhere, I would recommend revisiting that. But if you're passionate, if you're driven, if you care about making a difference in the world that we're living in, if you care about changing somebody's life for the better, go for it. Don't let anything stop you, because if you have that kind of drive, if you have that kind of motivation, and you have that kind of fire burning within you, there's nothing stopping you from being great.
Yeah, so nicely put.
Absolutely. So before I forget, would you like to tell everybody kind of like where they could find you online, if there's anybody listening that might be interested in working with you, where they can find you to do that?
Yeah, of course. So everything is Design Some More spelled like my surname, MOORE. That's Instagram, TikTok. My website is designsomemore.co.uk. And yeah, sign up to my mailing list and come join the co-working call. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see me there too. I'm not able to join every week, but I am there most weeks. So go join her newsletter. And if anybody's interested, we will see you in the co-working call.
Nice.
Before we get off, one last thing. If you could go back and tell your past self any type of advice, if there was any advice you could give yourself when you were just starting out, for any young designer listening, what is something you might give yourself as far as advice?
I always struggle with these kinds of questions because I'm rubbish at remembering stuff. I have the worst memories, so being able to put myself in my younger self's shoes is so difficult. But I probably just say, just keep going. Like, you'll be fine. You'll work it out. Like, any bad day is going to be worth your best day. That sounds really silly, but like, your worst day in business is always worth doing so you can have your best day. So just keep pushing through the hard times, because it does work out. Things get better, and you'll learn what you're doing on the journey, and eventually you'll get to a point where every day is a great day. So just
absolutely. That's so well said, because I say that to myself literally all the time. I'm like, even the worst day as a business owner is better than the best day working for someone else. Yeah. It is so true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vickie, for being willing to be on the show. It was lovely getting to have you on as a guest. I'm so glad I was finally able to have you on, because I talk about your co-working call literally every week. So it was nice to finally have the host of the co-working call with us. So now you guys have all the more reason to come and join us. And I will catch everybody in next week's episode. See ya.